Hi and welcome. I'm very excited to have a conversation today with Maria Forero, who's one of our amazing coaches here at the Jai Institute for Parenting. Maria, would you share a little bit about the work that you are doing with your clients?
Yes, thank you, Kiva, for having me. So, my name is Maria Forero. I am the founder of Mindful Parenting, and I support parents who are struggling to do better, be able to find more ease, joy, and confidence without the crushing guilt and the endlessly beating themselves up that comes with punishing, yelling, and threatening consequences.
I love that so much. I'd love to hear, Maria, a little bit about what led you to becoming a parenting coach.
Yes, so in my own parenting, when my daughter was 2 years old, there was a moment that was really difficult for me. I was pushing her without knowing better to be potty trained before she was ready. And I spanked her little bottom. And that was the moment that I realized I needed support. And I made the commitment that I was going to find the support that I needed to do better by her.
I'm sure so many parents watching can relate to that moment. We've all had moments like that for sure. What about that had you ultimately become a parenting coach?
Well, I went to the bookstore, found a book, and that started my path. Eventually becoming an educator. I spent 18 years as a Montessori teacher,
Mm.
and I loved every day of it, helped support lots of parents and teachers in this time. But I was still struggling, even though I had plenty of training and spiritual support for myself. I still found that I needed more support to really be able to help parents and myself and other people that were struggling to do better, even though they knew better.
Yeah, because it's not just the information, right? When we're asking ourselves to change our behavior, it's really challenging. And so how do you as a coach support the families that you work with to actually live into this desire that we all have to not resort to these tactics of yelling and punishing and sticker charts?
Right. So yes, it's always the struggle, right? To make something not just information and bring it into the body, be able to live in integrity. So my expertise is using mindfulness. I
Mm.
help parents really break it down, make it very practical for them to check in with themselves and their body in difficult moments, to start to be able to take those steps towards them doing better, being able to check in with themselves, being able to take a deep breath, using beautiful nonviolent communication tools to name how they're feeling, what they're needing, so they can really ground into the moment and support themselves so that they can support their partners and their children in those difficult times.
I love that so much because I think very often, and in my opinion, unfairly, we're asking children to change their behavior so that adults are less triggered, less reactive, less emotional. And what I hear you saying is that you offer parents, the adults, the tools to do that first. How does that then, though, translate into what a parent is experiencing with their child?
So they start to be able to catch themselves earlier and earlier. And it's beautiful because you're absolutely right. It's not on the child to behave a certain way so that the parent is having their needs met, right? So, yes, this helps the parent really be able to slow down, catch themselves. The earlier the better, and it's a practice. So they start to do that. They have a lot more compassion for themselves because they understand that they have needs that they need to be met as well. And so they can start to do better little by little. And they start to show up in a more curious way for their child to see what needs they have in the moment that they're struggling and having, this difficulty.
Mm. What might be some of the things happening in a home that might be a trigger or a kind of warning sign that it might be time to access the support of someone like you?
Usually, what's happening is that the parent really has done a lot of reading. They've, heard the podcasts, they've taken classes to support their parenting, and they're still really, really having a hard time in the moment when they feel like their body's on fire because something outside of them isn't going the way that they're expecting it to, or their child is having a rough time, they start to really see themselves in the moment. They start to catch themselves and they can't do better.
Mm.
There's a desperation. They start screaming, doing all the things that they don't want to do. And then afterwards, it's a lot of guilt. It's a lot of, when the head hits the pillow at night, they're running through all the scenarios that they are, really guilty about and wishing they could do better. And so they start to realize they need support.
Mm. And how do you as a coach support them to make that shift?
I support them in taking the baby steps forward. So really being able to, in the moment, be able to catch themselves. And that looks like a lot of practice with me in our coaching calls, right? They have the support of the materials that come with the programs I provide, but the magic sauce happens in the coaching calls. They start to have a lot more capacity to see that it's about needs, right? They have needs that they're not being met in the moment, and their child has needs that are not being met. So they start to be able to see that dynamic of everyone needs support. And when we are struggling, we're really just asking for help.
Mm. I love that so much. If there were one thing that you wish every parent knew, what would it be?
I think that my daughter put it best when I interviewed her for the book that Jai Parenting is writing, that she said what she would want parents to know is that the day that their child leaves the nest and looks back, that they know that they can trust their parent, that they can come back to them when they're struggling. Because I think a lot of parents have that fear that their child is going to leave and struggle and not know that they can trust their parents.
Yeah. And it's understandable, right? Because when they've been being yelled at by someone or demeaned or, criticized constantly, trust does get eroded. And I think as parents, we can take it for granted that, well, we're their parent. Of course, they're going to trust us. But when we look at it from a step back and actually think this is another human being, and the way that I treat this human being is absolutely going to influence their trust on me. I think it's very clarifying. But
Yes. And also that there is a way to get that support that we need as parents to be able to get that message across, that it's loud and clear for the child that we are there for them, that we have their backs, that they can trust us. And so when they leave, they are, just at ease with all they did for their kids, and their kids are happy. They're connected with mom and dad. Whenever there were ruptures, we had a way to repair. So there is a way to have these results in our lives.
yeah. And what do you see, when a parent is brave enough to step forward and say, okay, I'm going to do the work. I'm going to learn nervous system regulation. I'm going to learn to be with my emotions in a healthy, non-harmful way. How does that ultimately impact the future for their child?
So it's beautiful to see the parents and the changes that they go through and how happy and grateful they are after working with me. They have more confidence. They have that ease. Their self-esteem gets better, and so that translates to their child. Their children are just they have more connection with their parents. They have more cooperation, which is something that we, I think, silently all want more of. And the kids are connected to the parents, so there's ease and safety in that relationship, and they start to just kind of magically be more at ease, and that brings more cooperation, so the parents are just thrilled.
Yeah,
They're
it
really
becomes
grateful.
it becomes like a virtuous cycle instead of a vicious cycle.
Exactly. It's ever, growing and evolving. And I think that's ultimately why I do this work. I One of my values, aside from integrity, is growth, like personal growth. And this is one of the things that's just a blessing to everyone that runs into it, to be able to support their children in a way that is supportive for themselves, supportive for the babies, and it's just wonderful to grow. Yeah.
I love that so much. Yeah, I can't imagine that there's a better person on the planet worth doing the work of personal growth for than our child. It's beautiful.
Exactly.
Maria, if someone's watching this and they want to find out about working with you or get more information, where should they go?
They should go to mindfulparentingmiami.com.
Amazing. Well, you're incredible. Thank you so much for this beautiful work that you're bringing to the world. I wish you so much success.
Thank you so much, Kiva, for the opportunity.